Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to my global audience. Walter Cotton welcoming you into the Solution Zone, a place where people can be unapologetically Black without being racist. Our goal with this solution is to educate and what is that word, Dr. Colbert? Incite?
Incite.
To incite a capability within you that empowers you with the ability to create generational wealth that you'll be able to pass on to up to 5 generations of your family. I've introduced myself to you. I'm going to introduce this cadre of experts to you in just a minute. But as I said, our mission is to take a secret that we found our way to that allows you to make a demand call against a $300 billion inelastic demand pool that we're going to point your attention to. Now, I myself recently became the spook that sat by the door. My background in history, I'm normally preceded with, includes a tenure where I helped the disabled veteran business community capture about $19 billion worth of contract wealth. During that same season, I was blessed with the ability to co-author some legislation that allowed me to write some trap doors that create that pathway to the $300 billion wealth transfer that we're going to give you all an opportunity to take full advantage of. And in order to transfer that knowledge, in order to transfer that wisdom over to you, I took advantage of that old African proverb that says, in order to go fast, go alone. In order to go far, go in a group. So I went out and pulled together 2 of my strongest historic relationships and assets. One is a gentleman by the name of Andrew Colbert. I affectionately refer to him as the Beltway's Black Godfather. And if any of you have ever seen that Netflix special, that documentary on the Black Godfather, Dr. Colbert represents that capability. To complement him, I wanted to find an individual who represented the female gender and also could effectively represent the fastest growing demographic in the entrepreneurial space. I found a young lady, Soroya Van Horn. That is Soroya, that's Latoya with an S. This young lady has a stellar experience coming from the corporate enterprise space and then jumping into the entrepreneurial arena that gave her all of the lessons of life. I'm going to open up the screen right now and ask me, friends, Soroya and Andrew, to welcome you all to the Solution Zone.
Well, thank you, Dr. Cotton. This is my pleasure and truly a prayer answered. I want to give all kudos and allegiance to God in answering prayer, and truly he did. So to find you is truly, I just publicly want to say that it is a prayer answered, and this is what this is all about, a collective effort to work with like-minded individuals. So my past, again, I spent 14 years civil service, Army, Air Force, and I married a Marine. I actually worked for the Navy also. After corporate America, after civil service, where I initially thought as a young lady that I had a secure foundation in a career, we were caught up in a rift. So therefore, that sent me out to public and private industry, where I worked for Fortune 500 companies. I have always spent my career in IT, and that cultured me to perfect things there, God willing, and landed in a company here in Indianapolis where I'm based. And I retired in 2010 as a IT Six Sigma black belt. So we don't know karate, but we know Kaizen, okay? It's a black belt. So we are equipped with processes and procedures to help others to succeed. So again, I didn't have the entrepreneurial spirit in growing up, but corporate America pushed me to that limit. And I like Dr. Colbert's term of insight, I'm on fire. There's no turning back. So to have found both of you is truly a blessing, and we want to be a blessing to others. So thank you for this threesome. This is awesome.
Excellent, excellent. And Dr. Colbert, if you don't mind, take a moment out to introduce yourself to the audience as well.
Thank you, Walter, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be listening to this broadcast. And thank you, Soroya. This is truly God's work that we do here. I sit physically in our nation's capital, and with all that's going on in the world right now, this is somewhat one of the epicenters of how the world turns. But I came to this town, and I like to affectionately call it a small southern town that everybody happens to pass through. But I came here in 1977 from Detroit, Michigan, as a very excited, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed Midwesterner who was coming to conquer the world and achieve a certain modicum of success that I could share with people back home. As a result of that, I enrolled in Georgetown University School of Foreign Service in preparation to be a diplomat. I always saw myself one day as being an ambassador to some far-flung country representing the United States of America. In pursuit of that dream, I also attended and matriculated at Georgetown University's Law Center, where I earned my Juris Doctorate degree as well. And from there, it was and has been a continuous journey of connecting dots. And for me, dots are people and relationships. I've been blessed by God's grace to travel the world, as well as this country, to get a finger on the pulse of what makes people think, what makes them react, what makes them act, what makes them love, what makes them learn, what makes them want to be involved in something that's bigger than themselves, which is what we're aspiring to do here. And along that journey, I have practiced and ascended to some of the highest levels in corporate America, as well as entrepreneurship. I have been raised as an entrepreneur from the time I was 10 years old. I come from a family of 5 brothers and 1 sister. My father was a chauffeur as well as a construction worker, and he formed his own construction business called Benny Colbert and Sons. Well, guess what? I was one of the sons, and I've always pursued entrepreneurship. And one of the things we were taught growing up is that in order to be a Black man in America, you've got to have a job, a career, and a hustle. And I can't tell you which one this is, but I'm doing it. So thank you, Walter. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in this life-changing experience that we've all been blessed with.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. And for the audience, I'm hopeful that you're starting to smell what we're trying to cook, right? We put together a group of stellar, selfless individuals who have one mission, right? We want to take the blessing that we've been given and make sure that we optimize our stewardship. So let's talk for a minute about the "you are here" point that we find ourselves at right now. Because with all of the dust up in the news about the coronavirus, all of the dust up in the news about the political change that's occurring as a result of our national election, as well as some other international events that are occurring over in our home motherland, right? The R400 movement in Africa. We collectively believe that there is a unique set of changes in the global theater that is producing an opportunity for us, people of color, to change the economic landscape forever and take an approach that's what we believe is a cut above reparations. because what we've identified is a pathway that allows us access to a $300 billion demand pool that we believe that people that wear our social uniform can use to create foundational enterprises that will connect them to the opportunity that is emerging over in the motherland of Africa. And that's connected to the African Union effort, and probably the individual that's best capable of explaining what that means to us in terms of a future opportunity that's on this call in this conversation with us is Dr. Colbert. So Andrew, if you could, can you expound a little bit about what is actually happening in the African continent and what that means to the diaspora?
Absolutely, Walter, and at a very high level, and we'll, of course, in later editions of this discussion, talk a lot more granularly about what the Africa Free Trade Zone is about. But essentially, it is lowering borders, eliminating or lowering tariffs so that you can trade freely in and among African nations on the continent. This becomes significant because heretofore, that has been one of the barriers for African nations doing business with each other, as well as African nations being able to do business effectively with especially companies of the diaspora around the world on the continent. So if you will, think of it in terms of the European Trade Union, a very similar organization which allows for countries on the European continent to get favorite nation trading status with their brother and sister nations. Very similar for the African Free Trade Zone Union. And we are fortunate to have a relationship with the African Union, which is the driver and sponsor and author of this piece of seminal legislation as an ambassador to go out and seek relationships that are interested in doing business on the continent and primarily interested in identifying businesses, companies with diaspora pedigree that want to go back and do business with countries on the continent of Africa. So it is a very exciting time. I'm not quite sure, how this whole coronavirus pandemic will be impacting the implementation of that, but the projection is that the benefits of this union, the benefits of this trade agreement will start to really take shape in the summer of 2020. But more importantly, the vetting of those types of companies is going on as we speak, and we have a direct pipeline into the ambassador that's leading that effort.
Now, Andrew, I want us to kind of take a little bit more of a Denzel Washington approach to that information, because we're very close to it, right? And we understand that this AU initiative, again, the historic event to unify that continental economy, is creating a $3.4 trillion economy. And with the personal purchasing power index that the economists are pointing to, that results in a $6.8 trillion market, right? Which is why everyone's rushing to it. But in many instances, right, we're late to these games because of awareness, right? We just don't know what we don't know. And so I want to take a page from that line in the Anton Fisher movie where Denzel said, "Explain it to me like I'm a 2-year-old." So to help our audience members that may not be immersed in this area, let's start at the beginning, like helping them understand simple terminology like diaspora. Like, what is the diaspora? I think some people are confused, in terms of, are they a part of the diaspora, or like, what is the diaspora, which is going to be so critical to the rising of Africa, that Africa wants to engage? What diaspora are they talking about?
Well, in simple terms, Walter, the diaspora are Black folks, wherever they may be in the world. People with origins in Africa, people that look like we do. Those are the people that these leaders and governments and agreements are designed to help and impact. And quite frankly, Africans want to do business with other Africans, people of African descent, wherever they may be. And as we talk about unapologetically Black without being racist, that's what this group, that's what this agreement is designed to not only impact, but push forward in a very aggressive way. Because if you think about it, most of the world's precious resources come from the continent of Africa. And up to this point, those resources have been exploited by others. And by others, I mean those people that don't look like you and me. And when I say exploited, I mean primary beneficiaries of. Well, this is designed to change that script, to change that narrative. And guess what? We now have the pen. We can write the narrative.
And in order to get there from here, right, we have to be able to build and deliver effective businesses, effective enterprises to this need, because Africa is rising right now, and the desire is for Africa to rise for Africans. That's what we're getting as the message from the leaders on the continent that are putting forward this initiative that's creating this $3.4 trillion enterprise. So if we look at the opportunity that's in front of us, it looks like an imbalanced barbell, right? On one side of the barbell, right, we have a $3.4 trillion enterprise or market opportunity that's emerging in our homeland. And on this side of the barbell, we have a $300 billion wealth transfer in North America that we can use, right, as a leveraging agent to create enterprises that tip that barbell so that we can create import-export relationships with the continent that creates a rising tide that, again, changes the economic equation for people of color worldwide forever. Our objective is to drive the knowledge, the systems and procedures into a relationship with you that empowers you to be that wealth generator. But in order to get there from here, right, we know we have some complex challenges, some complex barriers that we have to overcome. And I have gone out and enlisted the capabilities of one we refer to as the conductor, right? This is an individual, right, who understands the infrastructure needs of enterprise and how those needs need to be pulled together in order for you to be effective for this kind of an opportunity. And she happens to be a female. This is a subject matter expert that happens to be a female, just like we're subject matter experts that happen to be people of color. Soroya, can you come in and kind of provide for the family your passion for helping many of these first generation entrepreneurs along this journey as the conductor? Explain to them what you hope to deliver to them in terms of support and assistance.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Walter. My hope, honestly, is to help people understand vision. As you know, the Bible says without vision, the people perish. So we want to make sure that we are helping you in your pathway to freedom. And first of all, breaking it down, like you said, to understand, what does success look like? What does that vision look like? What does enough wealth, money, legacy look like? Not only for you, but for the legacy that is generational that we speak about. I really like what Andrew said about R400, in that, if you remember, so many African Americans blamed President Obama when he was in office as if he was not doing enough for us as Black people. But be that yay or nay, we understand how politics go. We have to be the change we want to see. And that's what we're doing here to create that. We are incited, there's fire in the hole, and we have the knowledge now that we are freely giving back. So in other words, we're taking that, who's helping us attitude and giving it to people. So it's here for the taking. So we just want to make sure that we are making sure that everyone understands that we're taking the knowledge of years here that we've packaged and learned to share with you and to help you understand how to create your own reparations.
And we have so much to share with you. We can't pack it all into like just one morsel and just feed it to you. So over time, right, we're going to unfold our strategy and we're going to lay it out for you. But one of the things that we collectively agreed was that we needed to create templates. Right. Our objective isn't to provide you all fish sandwiches so that you could be reliant on us for information forever. We want to provide you with the block, the tackle, the bait, all of the tools that you need so that you can fish for yourself and feed your families, feed your communities yourself. So what we decided to do was to kind of look back at the lessons of history, right? Learn the best practices and bring those into a relationship with this movement that we are performing right now. And what we did was we took a look at the major movements that we've had in our history, the civil rights movement, right? We looked at the successes of the movements that ultimately resulted in us having something that we're all proud of, right? The first Black president of these United States of America. Right, which lets us know that there's a lot that we can do, right, if we come together, right, around an idea. But we also looked at the errors, right, the missteps in those systems, right. One of the things that we agreed on was that our civil rights movement was derailed by its success. And what we collectively mean by that was that before Brother Martin, right, was able to build out an effective, repeatable system from his local community, right? His gravitas, his swag, his capability caused him to be pulled up to the big leagues, up into the national arena where he just wasn't the system. It just wasn't ready to sustain itself, right? We're not going to allow that to happen. So what we've done is, right, we have identified that we need a community level impact that's nuclear. Right, that is big enough so that the world can see. And what we have identified is we've identified a community in Middle Georgia that has all of the attributes of success that we need to create an economic epicenter, for lack of a better word. Let me see if I can say this. We're looking to create Wakanda, USA. In Middle Georgia. And we have the full support of the candidate that is taking over that community. And we're going to let you guys be like a parrot that peers over our shoulder as we revitalize that community. So those of you who are in Middle Georgia, get ready, because we're already there. We're not coming, we're already there. And for those of you that are in underserved communities, that are looking for strategies that you can use to cause revitalization so that you can become jobs creating agents in your own community and do what Roxanne Shante says. What does she say? Reintrify your own community. We're going to be providing you with the tools and information on how you can do that. And we've already created a set of them. Let me show you one of them that we're going to use, and it's our watering hole. And excuse this transition because we ain't trying to be fancy like the man, right? We understand that in order for us to solve the problems that were created by our oppressor system, we cannot use our oppressor strategy, so we ain't gonna look like them all the time. But what we have created for you is a community of practice, right? This is our watering hole, for lack of a better term. It's our LinkedIn. And it's a place where we can go and practice what this great man that you see pictured on the screen, Dr. Anderson, suggests, that we practice group economics. So we've created a watering hole where you guys can come to, and it's, for lack of a better term, a black form of LinkedIn. Our goal is clearly defined on the screen. We're going to create a $20 billion wealth transfer into the hands of the members of the network. And that means wink, wink, you, if you have the wherewithal to become a member of the network in 2020. And the reason that we can say that with a full, aggressive, and deep-throated voice, and let me go ahead and open this thing up, is because this is our second act. In our first act, right, we already transferred $19 billion effectively. Right? So as the spook who sat by the door, I am that dude, right? I'm the dude that they allowed in the cigar smoke-filled rooms. They let me see all of the secrets, right, in terms of how relationships are built and how transactions are put together. And, you know, my largest transaction example is still Ben Long's $1.4 billion single small business contract award. And if you surf or you Google Walter Cotton and Michelle Anthony, you're going to see an example of a sister, a person of color, who's sitting on a $900 million contract, utilizing the strategy and systems that we're going to be sharing with you all as a part of this particular Solution Zone effort. So I want you to take this information and share it with your friends, because our objective with the level of secret that we have, we're not looking to be influencers, right? We're not looking to become pick-me niggas, okay? Let me be crystal clear on that. Our objective is to empower you with a knowledge base that forever changes the economic balance of power worldwide. And we can't do that with the look at me, look at me, look at me kind of attitude, okay? So for those of you who are smelling what I'm cooking, I would urge you, dare I say, encourage you to go out to www.mympu.org and at a minimum, become a member, because membership has its privileges. Secondly, I want you to subscribe to this particular podcast, because we're going to deliver this on a consistent and ongoing basis. And the next individual that we're going to introduce you to is the individual who's taken the leadership position in that Middle Georgia community that is going to allow us to create the foundation for Wakanda USA. And the importance of that, I don't have to emphasize. I'm going to ask my good buddy Andrew to emphasize, because the AU is aggressively looking for that diaspora partner that they can work with for these trade deals. You've got Africa champion companies right now that are looking for their diaspora complement. Let me stop. Andrew, tell them what the diaspora wants. Tell them what the continent needs from us right now.
What they need, Walter, is our undivided attention and focus to essentially come back home. And come back home with the knowledge set, the acumen, and the abilities that we have to cross-pollinate, take what we have from a resource standpoint, from a willingness standpoint, from a power and authority standpoint, and let's coalesce together with that $300 billion transfer of wealth that Walter talked about. And oh, by the way, this community in Middle Georgia that we all will be engaged in, they will be the epicenter of that initiative as we really learn, grow, for those that are ready, willing, and able, invested, and we will become the change. We will incite the change, because this can't happen without willing participants, ready participants, able participants on both sides of the continent. And let's be crystal clear about this. It's going to happen whether you participate or not. The question is whether or not you are prepared to participate, because we've been blessed. This is God ordained. This is not anybody speaking from ego or hyperbole or something that hasn't been done already. Walter just shared a transfer of $19 billion that he led that effort within the veteran community. And that's the tip of the iceberg. That was proof concept. This is practice concept that's been proven.
I love it.
So don't get it twisted. The train has already left the station. It's slowing down a little bit and at various points to give other people the benefit and the opportunity to get on board. But this is going to rise all boats. You may be a primary beneficiary, or you may be a second or tertiary beneficiary, but you decide that.
Let me in on a piece of that.
I do want to get you in on a piece of that, Soroya, but please let me introduce it and let me steer it, because the truth of the matter is, we as a people, we have to get real with ourselves, right? We have to acknowledge the fact that we're trying to do something for real that we've never done before. And like one of our great motivational speakers, Les Brown, often says, if you're trying to do something that you've never done before, you got to be willing to become something you've never been before, right? And the reason that I enlisted this young lady's service as the conductor for this is because I know that we have a lot of trauma out there in our community, right? We have a lot of economic and entrepreneurial trauma out there because there has been a lot of entrepreneurial miseducation. I mean, how many of you guys have heard the fake it till you make it, right? All of these, right, ideas and concepts that were fed to us by the colonizers that would never work. Well, we have enlisted the capabilities of a clear-headed subject matter expert that is going to disabuse you of all of those programs and systems that won't work for you, can't work for you, and is going to connect you with a solution set that will work for you. But I'm going to turn the mic over to Soroya, who's chomping at the bit because she's got a lot to tell you about the right-minded way you need to approach this opportunity. Soroya, go.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I want to piggyback off of what Andrew just said about the train has left the station. And that's it for us to sit here and volunteer our time. We truly do. It's the desire, it's the vision that we have to carry out God's mission. Okay, it's simply that. We want to empower those around us, again, have like-minded conversations with our people. Again, we are pouring back. When you know better, you do better. And that's our challenge. That is our reasonable service to give back to that. And again, the train has left the station. We want to make sure that you're in on that second round of it. So again, don't say that nobody told you or anything like that. As females, I find that so many of us tend not to ask for help. We're taking care of everybody, you know, our parents, our children, and not taking care of ourselves. So I am pleading with you as female and women entrepreneurs to ask. You have not because you ask not. And we're here to support you in your ask. So don't be afraid. We want to challenge you again to understand that vision, to come out with a boldness so that you can truly make an impact on the families that you support. So we want you to come to the table on the front side of it and not, again, what are people doing for? We want to make sure that you have a seat at the table so that you can open doors yourself.
And Soroya said something very important there that I think we want to make sure that we put we put parentheses around, right? We have the opportunity to come at this from the front side of this. Right? Oftentimes we get wind of these opportunities after the train has left the station, right? You know, after all of the money has been, squeezed out of it, and they come to our community to try to pimp us for the last few dollars that we have. In this instance, right, we have been introduced to this on the bleeding edge of the opportunity, not the cutting edge of the opportunity, but the bleeding edge. And in corporate think, the bleeding edge is, after that first cut has happened, right? When that white meat gets exposed and that first flow of blood starts to happen. That's where we are, with a $300 billion opportunity on this side that I have hyper-focused on people of color, that's connected to a $3.4 trillion economy that's rising in your homeland. And for those of you who don't think you're African, let me disabuse you of that idea right now. If you're walking around with this social uniform, your origin is in Africa. And if you've been wondering, why, Mother Africa never came for us after we were enslaved, it was because Africa was in bondage, right? Right after the Berlin Conference, and they carved Mother Africa up, she was in bondage. And it wasn't until last year that all the bonds were released and Mother Africa woke up with her right mind. And what is the first thing that she did? She called out to the children of the diaspora and she said, come home. So you've always had a homeland. Your homeland is now the richest continent in the world. Everybody is beating feet to try and take advantage of it. And God has put a ram in the bush for us, people here in the continent, that empowers us with the ability to build real brick and mortar rich enterprises that we can partner with our distant relatives through. Folks, we're not going to get another opportunity like this. This is our chance to go and ask for what we desire. What does that parable in the Bible say? You have not because you ask not. Well, we're operating from the charge that our people suffer from a lack of knowledge, and we're looking to eliminate that. So as Andrew and as Soroya has said, we are going to volunteer our time to make sure that you all have right-minded education about the critical issues of the day. And what we require you to do is take action on it. And the first action that you can take is make sure that you subscribe to this podcast and share it with as many people of color as you know. It is critical that we make this movement, because Gil Scott-Heron said it best back in the day when he said, this revolution ain't gonna be televised. He must have been peeking into the future and knew we were gonna stream it, right? So what we are driving is a global revolution that will raise all of the economic boats in its wake. And what I'm ensuring is that those boats are full of Black people who are unapologetically Black, but not racist. So if you fit that bill, surf out to mympu.org, become a member, and join us back here for the next podcast, where we're going to introduce you to the very deserving community in Middle Georgia that we are going to re-gentrify. We're going to create the foundation for Wakanda USA. Folks, I'm so excited. Sometimes I can't sleep. I don't know what to do. So please release some of my pressure. Get involved. Take some of these billions and use it to create generational wealth for your family. That is my charge. That is my desire. That is my mission. Andrew, before I turn it over to Soroya for closing words, do you have closing thoughts that you want to share with our global audience?
I do, Walter, and it's one word: act.
Boom. Soroya, last words?
Action, faith without works.
So folks, as you can see, you have a group of highly capable professionals that have dedicated themselves to that which we are charged with, service. Everybody that's on this call is blessed and highly favored. And the book says, to one whom much is given, much is expected, right? So we are being the change that we want to see, and we want you to join us in being the example in your community that we are to you. Until next time, this is Walter Cotton and the spooks that sat by the door saying, we're out.
From the heart of
it's
your
got
nation's
some
capital
different kind
to
of
the
connotations
shores
as well.
of the Empire State.
Yeah.
Welcome
that's what we
to
do. We're
the
disruptors,
Solution
and
Zone.
we're stirring up the pot with
From the heart of your nation's
know,
capital
federal
to the
contractors.
shores of Mother
What you don't
Africa.
know, now you know.
Welcome to the Solution
Now you know.
Zone.
You better ask somebody.
Okay.
We ready. We ready.
Okay. Well, we ready. We might as well just go ahead and get this party started. I'm gonna just count it down in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You know we gon' keep the ball rolling, cause you know the show's going on. If you see them hating on it, do them dirty and brush them shoulders off, cause only drinks can fade. There's nothing to be afraid of. If you can't take it, we'll take it from here. We'll take it from here. So we'll take it from here. Gon' carry on, we gon' run it this year. I'm talking marathon. When they endorse, of course it'll triple. Triathlon. So if you up for the ride, then put your saddle on. We on the change from platinum nothing to platinum. Only plaque that I've seen yet is in back of my gums. On the market set, go set it from the get-go. I'm the purist, this is insurance. I only want the green, you can hold the gecko. Cause they all stay the same shit. So I'ma coin a phrase to change it. We here now, and we ain't playing fair. Used to be poor, so as kings, we gon' reign here. I'm ahead of my class, while they sit in the back. I learn to master the charts, like I'm sitting the math. I know they felt the wrath when I came here. Perfecting my craft, they losing their grasp, so we gon' take it from here. Keep the ball rolling, cause you know the show's going on. If you see them hating on it, do them dirty and brush them shoulders off, cause only drinks can fade. There's nothing to be afraid of. If you can't take it, we'll take it from here. We'll take it from here. My whole team is butter, that's why we on the road. And we coastin'. So park your thing, cause can't nobody come close. We making it spread while we toastin'. Cause everybody say they real, we thinking not at all. That's why I'm appalled when they put me in their category. Why would I blend trying to be part of the cattle fall? Status is what real ill niggas will battle for. So not at all will I accept simplicity. It'll take a